first
Oh,
place.
yeah.
Believe it or not, there have been several times where players have accidentally received items
Yeah,
that were
this
only
happened in
supposed to be
Oldwar.
for GMs. And what the players did next, well, you'll be surprised. There was this dude named Leroy Spells, and he and his guild were raiding through Wrath of the Lich King when all of a sudden he disconnected. Now, DCs, they happen all the time. It's not the biggest deal in the world.
They do.
You just reload the game and log back in.
They usually happen whenever you're in combat in classic hardcore.
Okay. His account details and
very interesting.
Ooh. Worst case scenario. Ooh. Now, if you played WoW back in the day, you know what that screen means. And if you didn't, let me explain.
It means you got hacked.
So in the early days of WoW, before the days where everyone had authenticators, it was pretty common to get hacked. Usually, the hacker would gain access through the email address associated with the account, and they'd go in and change your password and lock you out. Then, if you were already online at the time that the hacker tried to log in, it would knock you off so they could get in the game. Where you'd normally just reload the game, try to log back in, and boom, you'd be hit
But they've changed the password, so you can't do anything.
And after double and triple checking to make sure that you didn't panic typo your password, a grim reality would begin to set in. You've been hacked. Now, when you were hacked back in the day, they didn't just take your gold. They literally took everything. They would sell every single item in your bags, your bank.
Bro, they would clean you the fuck out. There was no shame. There was no, you know, integrity.
And
there was
they, like,
no
essentially
honor in
wind your
this.
account back.
Everything.
That's how you got your stuff back.
And like, yeah, they throw away your Hearthstone. And the thing is, like, usually Blizzard
they rolled your account back. They would turn your account back to, like, before you were hacked. So if it was, like, a day ago or 2 days ago, they would just rewind your account to 2 days ago or whatever that save file was.
Able to get all this stuff back. And that's why they did the authenticator, because, like, Blizzard has, like, a save state of people's accounts. So they would just revert your account back to the save state.
Exactly what I just said. They would revert your account back to the save state a day or two ago, before it was hacked, because they have just plenty of iterations of this, like, fucking over and over and over.
So, like, they know. No, they didn't. No, I know this because I've had people do this. Like, I know this. Yeah, it happened to me. And also, like, do you remember whenever I got my gear, my blessed battle gear of undead slaying back? Like, it was the removed from the game Wrath of the Lich King pre-expansion event gear, and a GM restored it to me. The reason why they were able to restore that was because the game had snapshotted my my character inventory whenever I transferred. So they have multiple snapshots. It's the same as like with a computer, right? Where they're able to, it's like, oh, you can revert to a previous start or a previous like version,
like a better looking Asmongold,
right? A save state of your computer.
I know everything Asmongold knows, plus I don't wipe blood on the walls. Shots fired.
Basically. So the Blizzard system has that. The save state, yeah. System restore, of course. System restore. Restore point. I have never had to do that, but yeah.
This season, Vistaprint has
I'm also better looking than him.
And with up to 40% off.
I'm also a million times better looking than him.
Well, that's crazy because they told me they did. And then they did something based off of the fact that they
Chrome extension.
So I don't know. I think they do it.
And worst of all, they'd go through your character, they'd unequip all of your armor that you spent months farming, they would vendor it, and they'd take all the gold and send it to some burner account.
Gotcha, bitch.
Your main character would be left with nothing. And dude, if you had more than one character, they'd be cleaned out too. So by the time you finally managed to secure your account and log back in, this is what you'd see. Yep, a scantily clothed character with not a single copper to their name. And this is exactly what happened to Leroy Spells. They logged back in, ready to progress the latest raid with their guild, just to see their beloved character in rags. But it gets way worse. Leroy was actually an officer in the guild, and that comes with unrestricted and unlimited guild bank access.
Sometimes.
Which you already know the hacker took full advantage of. And
that's why Blizzard has the system now where you have to, like, you can have a setting to where only people that have authenticators can access the guild bank.
The entire place out.
Yeah, no, my friend Jeff stole somebody's account, and he cleaned out the entire guild bank, and he cleaned out all of this guy's gold and everything. Like, he stole everything this dude had, man.
They also decided,
easy
you know
Jeff,
what? Let's just delete a couple of Leroy's characters too. So because of this hack,
Asmon, if you see this, I love you, buddy. You know I'm just joking, right?
All of his items on his account. and all of the items in the guild name. But
you're a great guy, Asmongold.
To restore all of his account and his lost items and his lost characters. Like I said before, this was a pretty common problem back in the day, so when Blizzard received tickets like this, they'd know what to do. Basically, you just open up a ticket saying that you've been hacked, listing out the damage that it done, and Blizzard would then try to restore whatever was lost. So that's exactly what Leroy did, but sadly, he never heard back. Now, this was around December 2008, and the situation would remain quiet until March 2009. Leroy was pretty much back to normal. He was back on the raiding roster. They were in the middle of a 25-man Obsidian Sanctum when all of a sudden, they encountered a loot error. The GM of the guild, his name was Karate Chop. He accidentally gave an item to Leroy that was supposed to go to somebody else. So Leroy, being a good guildmate, decided to open up a ticket to see if Blizzard could give the item to the right player. And this...
another big point here is that in patch 3.1, which was the Ulduar patch, that was the patch that they added trading raid gear and the 2-hour trade window. Because before that patch and at the beginning of Wrath of the Lich King, you would have to put in a ticket to have the gear relocated to another character. The way I know that is that we used to roll on gear that we didn't need, and then we would get people to pay us gold to ticket it to them. And then after Ulduar came out, we didn't have to do that anymore.
They were actually pretty quick. They got the item restored, and then they followed up with Leroy asking if he had heard anything about his account that was hacked a couple of months ago. Leroy was like, nah, you guys kind of ghosted me, and then they went back and forth in the emails for a little bit, but he wasn't hopeful. But all of that would change in mid-April when Leroy would log back in to a fully restored account. Everything was there. His characters, his items, all of it. And on each one of his characters, there was an in-game mail from Blizzard, which, to be honest, is totally ordinary. When Blizzard restores items, they usually send them back to players through the in-game mail system. But hanging around on his lowly level 13 Warlock was an item that no one had ever seen before. A single shirt named Martin Fury. It had plus 34 stamina, plus 34
That's a lot for level 13.
An interesting flavor text that read, kills everything within a 30-yard radius. Cheater. Now, you would think that if somebody got an item with a flavor text that had the word cheater in it, they definitely, under no circumstances, would equip it, go into the latest and hardest...
there it is.
...raid with their guild, proceed to one-shot every boss, and earn a bunch of world-first kills along the way. Right? Wrong. Instead of opening another ticket.
Because you guys remember, do you remember, what was this? This was 13 years ago. No, 14 years ago, whenever Ulduar came out, and all of the servers were down for the entire day.
This is why.
Do you remember, like, because we didn't even get into the raid until, like, 11 p.m. You guys remember? Yeah, they were down all fucking day, man. Yes.
Enlightening Blizzard upon their mistake, Leroy decided to send a tell to his GM, showing off this glorious shirt. Afterwards, they'd form a group for Ulduar, go in there just to test it, you know, see if it worked, and pretty much it one-shot the boss. Now, you would think this is where he'd pump the brakes. I understand before, but after testing the item, it should probably be...
There's a little bit of continuity problem that we have here. A level 13 couldn't zone into Ulduar. Yeah, I remember this was a max level character. He mailed it? Oh, you're right. Maybe he just mailed it, because it doesn't say account bound at all.
The item, it should probably be sent back, right? Wrong again. Leroy and crew would not only go on to use the shirt, but they would bump up the difficulty to the max level and then proceed to one-shot 14 bosses.
There it is.
Giving them multiple world-first kills.
There it is.
A full suite of the best items in the game.
Absolutely.
And, of course, a childlike sense of wonder and glee. The hardest bosses in the game at the time that other guilds were taking hours and hundreds of attempts to progress on were just falling over to the might of the shirt. They were having the time of their lives, but this is where things went wrong because they decided to fly a little too close to the sun and got burned from it. They decided to go back in and re-kill the bosses because not everyone in their guild was able to be there for the first kills.
Naturally.
Now, they tried to keep it honest and started off by putting in some legitimate
big
attempts,
mistake.
But obviously those didn't go as well because these were literally the hardest bosses in the game. They were not supposed to be easy. After a couple hours of being Boy Scouts, they decided, all right, let's just use the shirt.
Let's just keep cheating.
But the problem with doing this was that not everyone in the guild was in on the shirt. Now, this isn't confirmed or anything, but I believe that this mistake right here is what led to them getting caught. I think it's reasonable to believe that some of the people in there thought the boss was bugged. And
I don't remember it going down like this. I don't. I remember them shutting it down after only a couple of bosses. Because something like this probably is an auto-detect on their system. Like, I mean, how many of you guys run a database or are aware of a database that if a certain value that's above or below a certain integer occurs, that you automatically get a detection, right? This is very, very common.
This is their second expansion
my understanding was that as soon as they started using it, it immediately triggered the detection mechanism for hacking, and Blizzard found out about it instantly. Yeah, it flags the account instantly. It was not that common in 2009.
In 2009.
No, it actually was in WoW. It was because what they used to do is they used to have like a Z, and like again with this specific
but not
thing,
for fucking
right. Maybe that guy that what's his name?
Not for mod items.
Guy that used to work at Blizzard. He probably would know better than me because he fucking worked there. But like my understanding is that they had Z-axis like what's the word for it? Thresholds. So like if you go Pirate Software, if you go above or below a certain threshold, it would automatically flag your account. So yeah, that was what I thought. So I know that they did have tools even back then. And that's why people's accounts would get hacked if they traded a large amount of gold. GM items are not objectively cheating, it wouldn't trigger.
Exactly.
Well, like there are certain spell IDs.
Yeah, but that wasn't implemented as tracked
as, like,
in
because
Aldor.
This spell occurred, cheating is happening. You see what I'm saying? So, like, there would be thresholds for maybe for killing the boss too fast or something like that.
You grab your tea, homie. We're gonna do a couple more matches.
Because it probably
doesn't
actually do damage. It probably just...
It's 2023. You can be whatever you want to be.
Yeah, time values. Yeah, so, like, maybe Blizzard had this, maybe not. I don't know. But my remembering of this was that this happened, like, right after, like, they killed Flame Leviathan, and then I don't even know if they killed the next boss. I didn't know they killed 14 bosses. That's not what I remember at all.
On their account from what they thought was a bug. Because, you know, a GM would see that and maybe ban them for using, I don't know, an exploit, something like that. So those people who were scared of their accounts getting banned decided to submit a ticket explaining everything to Blizzard. Snitches. Alternatively, a different story could have been that maybe word got out Leroy had essentially what was a kill the boss button, and some people didn't feel comfortable or got upset that he had this, so they decided to rat him out to the GMs. Regardless of how it actually went down, Judgment Day would come.
Oh, so he's actually just guessing. Yeah, he's just guessing with this. Okay, yeah. Yeah, I think that it immediately triggered some sort of thing.
It didn't immediately trigger anything, because they were able to kill 14 bosses.
Was it intense.
Sorry, Asmon.
Leroy's belts and karate chops were permanently banned.
Yep.
Anyone who was in the raid received a temporary ban. Ooh. And anyone who was in the guild, who was online at the time, regardless of whether or not they were in the raid, were locked out of their account for 24 hours.
Wow.
So, was it worth their entire accounts? Probably not. But I gotta admit, walking around one-shotting the hardest content
that was probably really fun.
Felt pretty good.
Yeah, for a few minutes.
That was probably real fun for just a couple of minutes there.